All right, continuing with assignment 3. The first thing we posted was our rough storyboard sketch, right? I like to have that open to reference. So this is setting up for a new work day on it. We're going to try to finish it off today and get all the components done. And then we have 2 Photoshop files. We have the assets file and the stage file. We open both of them with Photoshop. And we have them next to each other. So we have the assets on one side. The assets is all of the different components we might use. And my God, there are a lot of them. A lot of different layers, sometimes folders, sometimes color-coded. All these different things that we're building to make our frames. And then the stage are all of the finished frames that we've brought over, right? So right now they look the same, but their layers are very different. Because this is where I ended the story. Where is that in my rough storyboard? It is around here. Right? So what did I even say here? I said gobbles up the tree. So he's gobbling up the tree. So that's kind of my middle point, right? And then what is this? Eats foreground. That's my next step. Okay. So now I want to play with these different assets that I've been playing with. The mist, the water, right? And now let's play with the dodo asset. So what I've been doing is I've been duplicating it, that folder, turning off and closing the one behind. And now I want the dodo to move and the tree to be gone, right? But I want to play with the mouth open. So I'm going to turn off the tree. Turn off the roots of the tree that are above the mouth. That was a nice detail. And I can actually delete them because I don't need them now. And I'm going to play with this bird, this mouth. Now what I might need to go is to an earlier version. Here we go. I'm going to duplicate this one, move it up where I had the components of the character where I can open the mouth. And I'm going to match this one to this one, right? Or I'll just use that jaw. Because I'm going to open it again, kind of like this. Then I can rotate it. Hello. All right, good. So rotate it, kind of find a good angle for it, because he's going to start to eat the foreground, right? And then I have to erase it from here. This is all about kind of understanding your layer assets. And then I'm going to play with the mouth. And rotate it and stretch it just a little bit. Like so. Okay, so now, let's see, what do I like? Yeah, I think that works. Okay, so now I'm going to take those and I'm just going to make a duplicate of all of these to make a clean asset. Then I'm just going to merge that duplicate. So merge those selected layers. So lots of building with assets in order to get this file, which is my bird with its mouth partially open, right? Then I'm going to puppet warp it. This is to start eating the foreground. And I'm going to hinge it at the feet like I've been doing. And I'm going to move the body down from the head like that. And from the chest. And I'm going to angle the feet to be a little bit deeper and lean forward. And I'm going to grow the whole thing. So warp the whole thing, grow the head. Oh, no, that's going to look weird. Scale the whole thing. Nope, distort the whole thing. There we go, because I want it to kind of come into the foreground a little bit. Like that. The head's really big. So now I can kind of position that with what came before. This to this is that foot. It looks like the foot backs up a little bit and the head goes down. So let's position it forward so the foot doesn't jog back so much. There we go. So now from this to this. That makes sense. That works. Okay, now what do? This is the animation workflow. Go to my topmost visible layer, hold down Option, say Layer, Merge Visible. Select it all, copy it all, click on my stage, paste in the next frame. Command S to save. Now I deselect and delete that merged frame. I play with the mist a little bit. I'm going to build it up a little bit more. And I duplicate my creature and I flicker the water. Okay, now puppet warp again. Same kind of manipulations, but I'm going to lock the feet so they don't move much more. And I'm going to move this head down and then pivot it and then move it down at the chest. And I got to make big movements quickly, so this is looking a little awkward. So let me undo this and let me pivot more of the skeleton. So edit puppet warp, get it at the neck, get it at the hips, get it at the feet. There we go. So I want a big movement like this, and then I want to pivot the head. So I'm going to say edit. Actually, I'm just going to be even quicker about it. No, I'll do puppet warp again. Edit puppet warp. Now I lock the feet, and I'm just going to try to pivot this head. This is going to be tricky because its neck overlaps so much. And I'm going to bring it here. There we go. Move that forward. But I've got to pull that pelvis back. Okay. Let's see how that works. From this to this. Okay, now notice he's going to be eating the foreground. So for the first time, I'm going to move the creature above the foreground rocks. Right? You see what happens there. Let's see, what is it that's overlapping? Oh, it's just the mouth shape. Okay. Because that warped out of shape. Okay, so now let me trim that mouth so it makes a little bit more sense. Just like that. Okay. And now I'm actually going to burn it a little bit. So I'm going to duplicate those rocks, burn the shadow, and burn the midtones. and burn the highlights so that his beak shows up on these rocks. Okay, and I might dodge the beak a little bit to help that show up. So right, kind of the core highlight. It's a little rough, but it will work, and I'll burn around the edges of the beak. There we go. So now that shows up a little bit better. And I'll sharpen it. Sharpen those edges as he comes into the foreground with the sharpen tool. Oh, the problem is, you see the feet now are in front of the rocks. That doesn't work, so I got to take a chunk of these rocks and move them in front. All this little set dressing to set up the next shot. Duplicate it, move it on top. And now check from this to this. But the water isn't changing it, so let me change the water. There we go. From that to that. Oh, that water doesn't change enough. There we go. And that's my next frame. And it will get kind of crazy from here. So how do I merge it all? Go to my topmost visible layer, hold down Option, say Layer, Merge Visible. Command A to select it all, Command C to copy it all, click on my stage, Command V to paste it in on top. All right, next. I am going to deselect and delete that merged layer. Then I'm going to make a duplicate. And this time I'm going to close the mouth on this duplicate. Actually, no, I'm not even going to bother doing that. But this time I am going to make the foreground layers, duplicate all of them, merge them together like that, and turn off what's in front. Okay, so now this is all together. And I can turn off the grass too. And if I look at my sketch, he's eating the foreground. And he basically eats everything. So it's just going to turn to empty space. Okay, so if this is going to disappear, what I'm going to do is to puppet warp this character. And make it look like he's inhaling like that from the chest. Okay. Very good. And then I'm also going to warp this merged foreground so it starts to suck into his mouth. So strong is his appetite. So it warps the reality. So it goes from this to this. Weird cartoon physics stuff. And I got to turn on the rocks in front of his feet. No, I'm actually going to turn those off because that kind of spoils the illusion. So he actually sucks the rocks away from his feet as well. Okay, do I need to worry about the water? No. I don't really need to worry about the water anymore. Do I need to worry about the mist? Yes, because it'd be weird if it just stopped all of a sudden. But as he sucks up the environment, the mist is going to clear. So now, does that framing work? Yes. Weird, interesting distortion. Okay. And it's going to be hold down Option,